Recently it was time to renew my 13A visa. I did it last year. It's a weird process. If you do it in the US, you go to the consulate, Philippine consulate, you get your 13A visa, which is a spouse visa. If you do it in the US, they give you a permanent visa right away. If you do it here, it's a 1-year probationary visa. Then you, a year later, go through pretty much the same process again to get the permanent. It's not really hard. It's just, well, it's really not even, I was going to say it's expensive, but it's really not. If you compare the visa cost here to, say, the US, it's much easier here, and it's really pretty cheap. When you do your original 13A here and get the probationary 13A visa, it cost me right at 11,000 pesos. The paperwork's pretty straightforward. The prices were exactly as published online. There was no, people always talk about, oh, they're all a bunch of crooks and they're going to add on extra fees and you're going to pay double. That's never happened to me here. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying it's never happened to me. But we did it last year, so I didn't really cover it. I think I wrote a blog about it, but I wasn't doing videos as regularly. Going from the probationary to permanent 13A, you fill out, first thing is a letter. The wife has to write a letter requesting that you get your visa status changed. There is a format for it. They don't have anything official online that I have found, but I went on different chat forums and downloaded sample copies and just kind of reworded it, and because they're all a little different, so I found a couple different ones and then we wrote a letter. I went to immigration to pick up, they have a package. You can print the stuff online, the forms, but I have had problems here. I will print a form online, I'll go to immigration, and I go, oh, that's the wrong form. And they hand me a form that if you look at the dates is actually older, but it's the one they want. So I don't argue with them. I use whichever form they want me to use. So I find it best just to go there and get the forms. So I went, I put a package together, I showed them the little request letter. They'll make any little pencil changes on it at the time. They're very helpful with that. The form's very straightforward. It's very similar to this form you fill out for your tourist extensions if you've done those. The paperwork here is all pretty simple, but they get really particular on odd things about it. So you show it to them, you fix whatever they want you to fix. Don't argue with them. Just you play the game. It's not that bad. It's really pretty simple. I've talked to people that were doing immigration in the US, and it sounds like a horror story. Immigration here is much easier and much cheaper. The only real difference between the probationary and permanent 13A, there is a form you have to fill out when getting the permanent called the Affidavit of cohabitation. And it just shows that you do in fact live together. It does have to be notarized, and I again couldn't find an actual sample online, so I found on chat forums different people posted the ones that they use, and of course they were all a little different. So I did as best I could. I wrote one, and once I had everything filled out, I took it back to immigration to say, you know, this is what I'm going to do the 13A. This stuff's not signed yet, it's not notarized. I just want it reviewed. And they were real friendly about it. They reviewed it, they looked at the affidavit and were like just shaking their head in disgust. They go, oh, is this the American format? I'm like, I have no idea what format you want. I got it off the internet. You know, so change whatever you want to change. And they made a couple very minor formatting changes. But it made them happy, so I'm happy. So when I took that affidavit I just went to the town hall here. They've got a lawyer on staff that will do notary. They completely retyped it, a whole new form. So I didn't need to go to immigration with it. Who knew? If you live a long way from immigration, this could get complicated. But since I'm right here near the city, I made 3 trips before actually submitting my application. Because I let them review it and make changes and let them review it again. You don't have to do that. I did it so I could breeze through with no problem. Last year, when I did my probationary 13A, went through the same thing with NBI and all that, and did all the paperwork. And when I turned it in, they had us come back like a week later to do the interview. We did the interview, everything was easy, piece of cake, done. The fees are exactly as posted online. Well, this year, we have a new president, a lot of new rules, and the ELO office, I can only speak of this office because it's the only one I've used, has been wonderful. I always say how great they are, how helpful they are. I've never been charged extra. Them days are gone. With all these new rules, with the new president come in, it has turned into a clusterfuck. It is horrible. Every time I go, it is worse. They've doubled the staff and more than doubled the wait times. One of the first things he did was get rid of the express lane fee, which is something a lot of expats complained about. I did not. They're like, what is this express lane fee? I said, it's a 500 peso fee that you pay when you process your paperwork, and they allow you to stay in the country. What are you worried about? But everybody complained about it. Turns out it was an approved fee to pay their overtime while they're doing all this extra paperwork, and things would get processed faster. Well, they got rid of that fee, and being a former government employee who had my pay cut, let me tell you, work comes to a stop. So I don't blame these guys for slowing down. They got their pay cut drastically. I'd slow down too. But when I went to turn in all my paperwork, first he looks at my passport. You can see he's going down looking, and he finds the date when my 13A expires. Then, without looking at a schedule, he goes, your interview is going to be, and he gives me a date a month after I'm expired. Like, this is like 2 months away, because I was there it was going to expire at the end of July. I was there in the early June, and he says I'm going to have to come back in August for my interview. And I was like, okay. He goes, or you can pay, and he gets this real shit-eating grin on his face, the optional travel agent outside. We have an authorized travel agent that if you use her service, she can get you in, she can streamline it. I think she has an opening next week. Again, without checking the schedule, he knows exactly when I can get. I was like, okay, how much is her fee? Turns out, coincidentally, to be exactly what the express lane fee used to be. So I generally play the game and smile and don't say anything, but this just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, the corruption now is much closer to the surface. It's much more common and more rampant. It's a bummer. So I just looked at him. I said, okay, so if I pay your extortion fee, express fee, I can get in next week? He goes, well, she'll have to check the schedule, but I believe she has an opening. And he's not playing it all. He's letting me know, you got to pay us or we're not going to do this. And it just, you know, the express fee kind of was the same thing, but it was an official fee, and I was fine with that. This was real straight up, you pay us the bribe or it's not going to happen. So if you totaled it all up, it was exactly what the published fees were before it was changed. So it didn't cost any extra. It just, there was a lot of attitude involved. So I went out to the lady. I'm sure she's an aunt or a cousin of somebody that works there. Sorry, but that's probably true. She looks at all my paperwork, says, when do you want your interview? I said, well, what do you have open? She goes, when do you want it? And I was like, next Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. She says, okay, done. I was like, oh, that's just, it felt so scammy. It really did. It felt dirty, but it worked. So we go in a week later, do the interview. Interview's easy, you know. They look at everything, they send it off. They said they will text me when it comes back from Manila. I figure I'll go back and check because I don't believe they're going to text me.
Enjoy your day in paradise.